Martin's, okay. So it's a Doc Martin's a shoe store maybe, but it's a quite a large building.
Welcome,
as they come
everybody.
out,
Welcome.
you see the smoke coming out of that structure, and we'll see what the fire department does. I'm going to try to listen to their frequencies to see if I can hear them chattering about that fire and how they're going to handle it, because there's still a lot of protesters here in the area and moving in and out of the stores. It's unknown how this fire started, but taking a look through the front here, and it's hard to tell if those stores were looted or if the fire department had to just make access themselves. They're making access inside. That's a good sign. They're going to fight it from the inside, at least for now. A lot of smoke being vented out through the roof.
And it looks like a different business, possibly. I don't know. I can't tell. I just see different signs there. It's really hard to tell what's going on there and what the business might be.
Yeah, and you know, Kathy and Gil, as I look at this, all those stores are connected there.
They're
I mean,
close,
you're
yeah.
talking about something that runs a city block almost. And if this fire gets in the roof, correct me if I'm wrong, typically it runs through the attic. It could take out an entire block.
It could. In fact, it may have already spread to the other buildings. It's hard to tell. There is quite a bit of smoke coming out of it, out the front and out the vents on the roof. So it's hard to say if it's skipped over into the other businesses there. It's blocked by smoke to the east there. You see that stretch of businesses there really blocked. You can see some of the signs there where fire has not gotten to that yet. But this is a concern definitely for the firefighters and certainly for the police to get in this area and try to bring an end to this looting that's going on, because this could be a result of such a activity.
Yeah, it could be vandalism. It could be, we don't know right now at this point, but they were still working on that fire at that nail place just down the street. And then Gil, you panned down and went over to this area, and now we see from your cameras that this is on fire. And it's just crazy. We're just coming up at 9 o'clock now. We've been under this curfew for 1 hour, and we're seeing looting and fires all up and down this area.
You know,
yeah, that's right. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say we're having community leaders weighing in on this all day. We just heard from Karen Bass. She's a U.S. representative. She's a prominent African-American politician. She represents the Culver City, South LA area. She says tonight, if you're mad, if you're distraught, if you're angry, if you're hurting, fight back against the system that killed George Floyd. Do not destroy our communities and our neighborhoods.
Yeah, the sad part about destroying the neighborhood is that it takes forever to recover.
To rebuild.
Yeah, these are businesses, and it's just nobody wants to see this. It's tough on the fire department, it's tough on the police department, and it destroys the community.
We're hearing now that this is Tony K on Melrose. It's a shoe store also. So that's who we're getting word from our assignment desk. Kevin LaBeach giving me that information now.
Tony K?
Tony K is what the name of the business is on Melrose. And so the fire department dealing with all that smoke, a lot of smoke coming out of this building. I'm surprised we're not seeing flames through the roof right now. We don't see any fire department on the roof per se right now, but it's unclear exactly what they have inside. I'm trying to listen to what they're dealing with in there, but heavy smoke coming out of this business. Yeah, it's
really smoky. Yes. You're right, and no flames. It's just pouring out.
Hey, Gil,
Absolutely.
Can you widen out your shot just a little bit and let us see what the traffic situation looks like around there? I mean, so you're on Melrose, right?
Yes, this is Melrose. We're looking from the north.
I'm just sharing this out and looking for
so you're seeing
other footage.
Some of the traffic here.
Welcome everybody.
That's westbound on Melrose, having to turn around because the fire department has it completely shut down.
I don't know if the mic was on.
Access,
I'm just sharing this out and looking for other footage. So welcome everybody.
But look at how much smoke is pouring out of this fire. It's unbelievable. There might be more structures there that are on fire. It's hard to say it from this angle.
Yeah, we can't see signs at this point. All we know is that, like Colleen was saying, all of these businesses are kind of next door to each other, so it could easily spread from one business to another. But they're focused right on this area where we're not seeing flames, but we're seeing a huge amount of smoke coming out.
You know, as we continue to watch the picture here, I want to bring in a friend of ours, Errol Southers. Errol, are you with us? Errol Southers?
This is Tim Williams.
Oh, Tim. Hi, how are you? It's Colleen Williams. I remember you from the other night. You used to be with the LAPD, correct?
That's correct.
All
that
right.
is correct.
So as you look at this, and we're coming up on 9 o'clock here. So what's the playbook for the LAPD at this point? I mean, you've got this fire, raging fire in the middle of Melrose here. You've got looters out there. What do you tell your people if you're commanding the LAPD?
Well, the thing is, Michael Moore, came on the air a little bit earlier, and they mobilized the entire department the first time since the riots about 20 years ago. And this is, you try to prioritize the locations you have. Here, you have buildings being burned, and he's trying to, they have made some arrests, they have cornered some looters, and they're trying to quell the fire, save property, and at the same time maintain peace. So it's a coordinated effort between the fire department and LAPD, and the thing is that you have to try to get the firefighters in, get them protection to do what they need to do, and at the same time address other areas in the city.
Tim, with your background in law enforcement, how do you enforce the curfew at the same time?
Well, that's a $1,000 question. The thing is that the curfew has been set. It's from I believe it's from 8:30 to 8:30 to 5:30 in the morning, and if people have been notified, if they are violating the curfew, then you affect their arrests. And the thing, you get the individuals off the street so that you can take back the streets and do what needs to be done. It's a handful. He's trying to maintain the entire city with 9,000 police officers. You don't have 9,000 police officers out there at the same time. They work 12-hour shifts. So you have 4,500 out there at one time, and then they relieve and another 4,500 go out.
Tim, 30 years with the LAPD. I suspect you were here in 1992.
I was.
What would you tell the people who are on the front line right now, given your experience?
Well, the thing is that I've seen what has been done, and there is more of an organized approach now than it was back in 1992. I was there.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. My name is Jake.
It was
Please follow and share.
Well organized. We weren't prepared.
Another crazy night. Day 5.
Now there seems to be a more of a preparation, but there is the issue of resources. You have the sheriffs there who are assisting also in unincorporated areas, and then you have to your north you have Beverly Hills Police Department as well. I understand that the governor or the mayor of LA has asked for National Guard to come in, and that's being requested. And
yeah, it's not only requested; they should be here by midnight, we're told.
Yes, exactly. And so that will add about 800 or 900 more additional individuals to the city, and then there's the complication of coordination of command between the military and local law enforcement. So that's the issue that has to be dealt with as well.
And our investigative reporter was explaining to us how law enforcement trains for almost every scenario that you're going to see in a situation like this. How do you do that? How do you train for instances where you don't know what's going to happen?
Well, you train, and there's different scenarios that are put forth to the officers in the training, and you have you can see that the training has been executed. I see what's been executed, and I could tell the training has been done. And I saw one scene where there were some looters on the street, and they were boxed off between lines on either end of the street, and without, from what I saw, without any undue excessive force, and that's a coordination of effort. That's training, and that's what training looks like.
And I'm glad you brought up the excessive force, because we were also talking about how do officers handle things being thrown at them? I mean, they were tossing gas bombs into the
M80s
crowd,
as well, Kathy.
and they're throwing them back. And you know, you've got people yelling at you. How do they deal with that and not get agitated and escalate the situation?
Well, you're trained to de-escalate. You're trained to you know, when you put yourselves in these situations, you're going to have these type of situations. You're trained not to respond to the pockets of things that are coming at you, but to respond to directions and commands of the squad leadership, and to affect the mission that's in front of you. And again, it takes training. You know, I've been in the military and I've been in LAPD, and you know, the training. You don't let the situation control you. You control the situation, and that's what we've seen here so far.
You talk about the LAPD better prepared and being more coordinated than they were, you know, in 1992. But on the flip side, couldn't that also be said about the protesters and the looters out there with social media? Don't they seem a bit more organized than you remember?
Well, what I see is a coordinated effort of some factions that are out there. And this is not only with Los Angeles, but all across the country. I've seen folk that you would not normally see leading or leading in this insurrection. I call it insurrections. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's you know, there's more than going on. There's more behind the scenes that needs to be looked at than what you see going on here. So seems like to be an orchestrated. It seems to me, and I've been in this business going on 46, past 46 years, going on 47, across the country, and that's bothersome.
One person arrested tonight was found to have a handgun. How does that change the picture for officers on the street?
Well,
small team.
Okay,
you know?
so
we're less than 10. We're less than 10, and in Minneapolis, there's nobody.
When you're out there, you don't know who's who and what's what. You don't know what people are having. You just pray that that you can get, you can affect the rest. You can keep the peace without anyone getting hurt and the officers not getting hurt. When you have this, you don't know what you're going to find when you arrest people. So the thing is that, you know, it's an issue of you know, training. It's an issue of coordination of resources, and that's what's important.
And are you trained?
What you have seen.
Are you trained to read the crowd, to read what they might do next? How much of that goes into play?
Well, you pay attention to what's going on out there. You have your squad leaders paying attention, and they're getting directions from other higher ups in the command to address certain concerns and certain issues that need to be addressed right away. If you see some folk that are armed, you bring the proper resources in. When I say proper resources, folk like SWAT and things of that nature, people who have training in that type of for those type of environments. But again, you know, you assess the situation, you respond, and you don't let the situation control you. You control the situation.
And Tim, we heard from the mayor today as many as 500 people were arrested last night. Most of them got citations. Only a handful were kept in jail. Most got citations and were kicked loose today. And do you have any doubt that they're back out there on the street? And does that bother you?
Oh, that's you know, these are again, these are citable offenses. These hopefully, you know, it's like, again, you can pack the jails out until you can't have no more room anymore. But you cite them, and if they're out there again, then that citable offense may not be a citable offense. It may be a booking offense, because you know, obviously the site didn't work. And you know, you go from there. But the thing is that, you know, you make sound judgments. You put them. You make their arrests. You cite them out, and they'll have their day in court. And at some point in time, when the courts open up after after the pandemic and after what's going on within all the cities across the country.
Well, you have a lot of experience, and you've been through similar things before. How confident are you that we will have any control by 5:30 in the morning?
Well, it ebbs and flows. You get people, it's like anything else. People get tired and they go home. And then you see them congregating again late morning, early afternoon, and into the evening.
A lot of cities.
So the thing is that, as you deal with this thing on a day in, a day out basis, hopefully you want to deal with it too much longer. But as long as you're dealing with it and you gain the resources that you need, identify the leadership or the agitators that are there, deal with that, then you gain ground. You want to gain ground, from day to day, and making sure that businesses aren't destroyed, making sure communities aren't destroyed, and those who are doing it get detained and arrested.
Tim, when we spoke on Wednesday, that's when the group had moved up on the 101 freeway, just shy of Alameda there. They took over both sides of the freeway, and they had some problems with CHP officers. They moved in on the cars. Somebody broke out the back window with a skateboard. Another one was a piece of board. How problematic is that for officers in looking at video a couple days down the road and trying to track these folks?
Well, that's a problem. We're supposed to be doing to the pandemic. We're supposed to be wearing masks, but we're not supposed to be out there tearing up our environment. I believe in peaceful demonstrations, but I don't believe in tearing up, your environment where you have to live and shop and eat. You do the best you can. There may be some cameras where individuals were caught prior to putting on their masks. You could identify them by clothing they're wearing and so on and so forth. And you may be able to get some identification from there. But it's a totality of everything. You have to see the genesis of where the demonstration started and where they got onto the freeway, and then you go from there. And it's an investigative process.
And you were working in 1992 when you saw the looting and the fires and businesses destroyed. How does it affect you seeing this tonight on a different level? Of course, a different situation, not the same thing, but how does it affect you emotionally?
Well, the thing is that the incident with George Ferguson, George Floyd, I'm sorry.
Yes.
That whole situation bothered me. I've seen a lot during my career, and seeing this was at the top of egregiousness. So that bothered me. To the point where the entire nation was bothered by that. You even had chiefs of police come out, and which is a total rarity in my experience and in my career, coming out criticizing the action of a police officer to the point where they suggest that he be arrested. So the thing is that it's not a new phenomenon, but it is a phenomenon that's caused the consternation of the whole nation on the heels of people being sequestered for almost a month and a half or 2 months on this COVID-19 issue, and then you look at the leadership in our government and everywhere and everything else, and it has a cascading effect. And what we see is, I'm very concerned. Not only do we have the pandemic, but now we have a country that is the infrastructure of the country is dwindling because of what we're seeing here.
Tim, we're looking at a picture right now. I hate to interrupt you, but I want you to walk us through it. This is at Pico and La Brea, I believe. This is a Target store. There were reports of looting here. You see a line of officers outside. What's the protocol on this?
I'm looking at it now.
Okay.
Okay, I'm looking at it now. Go ahead. What's your question?
So what's the protocol here? They just rolled up on scene, and will they wait for the looters to come out? Will they go into the store? What do you do at this point?
Well, if you notice that they are getting in formation in certain areas of egress and ingress, and they will be taking directions from the command staff as to what to do.
It looks like they arrested someone at the top of the screen there.
Yeah, I see that there. And these individuals may have been on the outside or coming out of the store, and they're being ushered over to the arrest team where people are designated to arrest individuals. Now, everyone has a job to do. One individual, maybe one group apprehends them and they take them over to another group of officers whose job is to arrest them, get information, and do what needs to be done as far as citing if that's what they're going to do. So it has to be a coordination of effort. You don't see individuals working independently by themselves, but you see a team effort in getting the things done.
Well, Tim, we certainly thank you for your expertise. Tim Williams, LAPD officer for over 30 years and military veteran as well. Hopefully we will not have to speak with you again this evening, but
well, if you
it's
need
possible
to, you have
we
my
will.
number.
All right, we certainly do.
All right.
Tim, thank you again. We want to bring in.
Welcome.
All right, we want to bring in Megan Reyes right now. She's in News Chopper 4 Alpha. This is that building that was on fire just a couple of minutes ago. Megan, it looks like it's fully engulfed at this point.
Fully engulfed, fire through the roof right now. You can see the challenge that firefighters have right now. They are concentrating and trying to save the buildings next to it. They're probably going to go into what they call a defensive mode right now. This is a Starbucks right here to the right of it. To the left of it, we have a lot of other small businesses. So fire department's definitely going to try to save some of these buildings, but you could see the challenges that they have ahead of them. This is the 7500 block of Melrose Avenue. Started as a small fire. Took firefighters a while to get there. LAPD wanted to make sure they could secure the scene, and right now this is what happens. You have good intentions from earlier today. You had peaceful protests, and unfortunately now we see a situation like this. You could see the fire just blazing through that roof right now. Very intense situation here.
It really did just explode. We were watching it earlier, a lot of smoke, and now we're seeing a lot of flame coming out of that. And Megan, you brought up a good point, because the firefighters can't just roll up on the scene and start taking care of this. They have to first go with the police, and they have to rope off the area, make sure it's safe. So that's one level of work they have to do, and it just takes more time for them to get there. That could have caused this fire to spread even more. And the other thing I'm thinking is there are businesses on either side.
Right, and that's what they may end up doing, is going in what they call a defensive mode. But hopefully there's a firewall in these buildings here to protect the adjacent buildings here. So you have a couple of buildings here that's in the path of the fire. Fire department's going to do everything they can. And, you know, resources are really stretched. Kathy, in News Chopper 4 Alpha, we were over downtown Los Angeles. We saw multiple rubbish fires. They have their hands full in downtown LA with a bunch of looting areas near 7th and Main and Broadway. So there's a lot of activity there. They do have multiple small rubbish fires. People are lighting trash cans on fires in downtown, but nothing of this magnitude. You can see the intensity of this fire. It is just consuming this entire building. Firefighters, looks like they may even have to pull back here because of those intense flames right now.
Makes you wonder what is fueling this fire.
You know, I was just thinking the same thing. I don't know what's in this building here. I heard there was a couple of small businesses here.
Tony K Shoe Store, I believe, is what, there you see on the outside, Tony K Shoe Store.
Yeah, so if you got a shoe store there, you can imagine all the products in there, all the cardboard boxes and everything that is fueling that fire that is just really rapidly consuming this building, and the buildings next to it. The radiant heat is what's going to be an issue there. The fire definitely may start with these buildings just because they're so close together right now. So firefighters are still battling this right now. This is, again, the 7500 block of Melrose here as they are dealing with this fire. One of many fires here erupting here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, we saw the nail salon or nail shop that was on fire earlier. They were still about 30 or 40 minutes ago. I don't know what the situation is now, but now we're seeing this fire here at the shoe shop. This is the largest fire, I think, that we have seen tonight, other than the little spot fires. And of course, earlier, several patrol cars, LAPD patrol cars, were set ablaze as well. So the fire department has been busy taking care of a lot of those fires. But this one just huge, as we're seeing plumes of smoke and that huge fireball right there in the middle of the store, which we believe, if we're looking at the sign, is some type of a shoe store there on Melrose.
Yeah, that's right. And Kathy, I just also want to add, you know, I look out the everywhere. I'm seeing law enforcement responding with their lights and sirens. So they are just going to multiple areas. They're hearing about looting. They're hearing about small rubbish fires. So it is just a chaotic situation. And just moments ago, somebody pointed a green laser at the helicopters as well. And, you know, you have law enforcement helicopters up here trying to direct officers down below into a safe direction to try to disperse some of these crowds. And now they have to worry about somebody with the laser shooting at the helicopters. That can be a very dangerous situation, not only for the police, but also for the media helicopters here as well.
Absolutely. On a normal night, Megan, we would be covering that as an entire story. It's illegal and very dangerous, as you said. That could be a story for us, and yet it's just part of the scenario we're seeing, where we are seeing looting, outright looting, just people smashing windows and taking items out of the store. And we're seeing fires set in various areas. We've had officers injured as well. I've seen some protesters earlier in the day who were down in the street because we kept seeing people running. And of course, you're going to have injuries. So really, it's just been an incredible afternoon into the evening. And now, as we are approaching 9:30, we are well into the curfew that was put into place at 8 o'clock. And now we have word that the National Guard will arrive at midnight. 100 National Guardsmen being deployed to this area. What we heard from our investigative reporter, Eric Leonard, was that they would help just to take up some of the slack right now, because we have these officers on 12-hour shifts. And Colleen, you've been here at night covering some of these demonstrations. They are taxed.
Well, it's interesting because they typically ratchet up at night, and the National Guard is going to be here to provide force protection and security. That, of course, according to the sheriff. Now, I want to ask Megan, because you've just flown through the area, you had to put down to refuel, and then you turned around and came right back. So you've got a broader picture of more than just this fire right now. What did you see on your way in? Are there still protesters out there? Are there more fires out there? What can you tell us?
Colleen, right now it's hard to see the protesters unless if we're exactly over the area because it's nightfall, but they are out there. I'm listening to LAPD, and it's really getting busy in downtown Los Angeles with looting. We did hear about an officer who was injured near Spring and 7th. Somebody threw a rock, possibly a broken wrist, according to the scanner traffic. So what I'm seeing is just a lot more commotion. And as I said, as I look out the window in every direction, 360 degrees here, I'm seeing police officers with their lights and sirens responding to multiple calls. We do see a lot of smoke in the air from earlier fires. We did see a couple of fires in downtown Los Angeles. This one here on Melrose Avenue. This is the biggest fire we have yet to see. It's a very unfortunate circumstances. What started off as a peaceful protest in Pan Pacific Park today, people were out there protesting, and unfortunately a few individuals just took it to this level, and this is why there is a mandatory curfew. But unfortunately, we're just seeing a lot of mayhem down below. And again, as Kathy said, it normally would be a story we would focus on, getting lasered by an individual. The green laser lit up the helicopter here in News Chopper 4 Alpha. That is pretty bright. Great job here by our pilot Derek Bell, just maintaining the the stability of this helicopter. But that's just we're just seeing a lot of pandemonium and a lot of chaos below. And those police helicopters, they are relaying information down to the officers below. They want to make sure those officers are safe. So when people have those lasers and they're pointing them at the helicopters, that's a very dangerous situation there for the pilots as well as for the media helicopters. So we're all in this together right now. They're trying to make sure those firefighters are safe there.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. If you're first time here, my name is Jake. I am on the Vantage Point USA page. Please follow and share. I am Jake from Total News Network. This is a page I do a show with my friend Rich. Be sure to follow and share. And another crazy night. I'll be trying to find all different footage and taking breaks now and then. But I appreciate you tuning in. Be safe out there.
That we're looking so forward, I'm sure, to opening and getting back to some sense of normalcy here, and then all of a sudden this happened. Megan, we're going to continue to look at your picture here. We're going to bring in Eric Leonard once again, who's been talking with people at the LAPD, the Sheriff's Department. Eric.
Good evening. The word that we're getting from department commanders is that they feel like they've made some significant progress in clearing out a number of the demonstrators and reducing the risk to the public, although it's really hard to feel that when you watch the pictures that we've been seeing all night tonight. The number of people that the police officers out on the Fairfax area are confronting or having to interact with has dropped dramatically, they tell us, in the last hour or so. We're now thinking it's more in the neighborhood of several or many dozens rather than the hundreds that we saw earlier. Nonetheless, the department seems to be addressing more and more serious problems, even though there are fewer and fewer people wandering around on the streets. Certainly the fires have presented a whole new issue for them to deal with, and then certainly the looting has captured the attention of dozens and dozens of officers down there. The sheer exhaustion amongst the people working the LAPD, we're told, is a huge, huge factor. You have many of the people who are working in crowd control tonight are the same groups of officers who were working almost all night last night in downtown L.A., and a good portion of them were the same group of officers who were working Thursday night. And so that is perhaps part of what's behind this decision to try to bring in more outside help, specifically the National Guard, to try to relieve some of the demands on the department, not only so that certain groups can go home and get some rest, but also so the LAPD can restore its core services in other parts of the city, responding to radio calls, doing general patrol work, those things that had to be shut down while they focused all of this attention on this area tonight.
And Eric, you were saying that they can also bring in officers from other cities. We heard some information about officers coming in from the Inland Empire, so this could be the Sheriff's Department. They can call other resources locally, maybe Ventura County.
That's right. There's long-standing mutual aid agreements between most of the police departments in Southern California. At some levels, it's coordinated through the state of California. Everybody relies on one another when a particular incident overwhelms the local agency. This happens constantly when they're dealing with massive wildfires in the fire department. This happens with contingency planning for big natural disasters. So the plans are in place to do it. It was a little unexpected tonight from what we've heard. That was part of the delay in getting additional people from outside areas. But they're well set up to do this. It sounds to us from the contacts we've had in.
That looks like the National Guard was heading into Minneapolis. They were in a hurry there. It's about to get crazy.
And people have, from all sorts of different agencies, have been scrambling to keep up. As you pointed out, it's not just the local agencies that help one another.
Oh, yeah,
it's
I did spell unicorn.
Counties, Ventura
Sorry.
County, San Bernardino,
Thank you for pointing
Riverside
that
County,
out.
Orange County, where they have less local.
Yes, I will fix the unicorn. That's unicorn.
Is it a department the size of the LAPD that's asking for help? After all, it's 10,000 officers strong. Typically, when there's a problem in one part of the city, officers can be drawn in from other parts of the city, and whatever needs to be managed gets managed. This is one of the first times in recent memory where the department has dealt with something that is such a large problem in so many different areas that it's really put a stress on the ability of it to manage right now. And that's why we're seeing these calls for help to outside agencies.
And Robert, I'm sorry, Robert is standing by. We're going to get to him next. But Eric, what can you tell us about the National Guard?
Well,
thank you for pointing that out. I also spelled Minneapolis wrong earlier.
To be assisting. At first, for certain, National Guard troops will be able to relieve LAPD officers who've had to do things like traffic control, controlling crowds and intersections. Not so much of the hands-on police work that we're seeing officers carry out right now, much more in a supportive role. That may change. That may evolve over several days, but it is certainly not the initial intention.
If you're just tuning in, my name is Jake. Thank you for joining. Please follow and share. Also, I'm down here in South Florida, and they have a curfew now because they started getting a little crazy in Miami. So, looks like several cities. I hear that it's going crazy in Austin. It's going crazy in Austin, Texas. So, it's definitely madness all over the country right now.
Changed. There have been many more recent discussions about how to integrate the military, National Guard in a catastrophic type incident. This is not the type of incident that was being considered when those discussions happened. It was far more along the lines of natural disaster planning. But nonetheless, there are working plans in order for this to happen. Again, it sounds like the National Guard is going to be in a mostly supportive role, at least in the first hours. But given how everything has changed so quickly today, how the department has clearly been overwhelmed and has now been pushed to its limits, there's a good chance that that role could evolve in the coming days.
I see a comment from MPS saying it's funny how people think more police is the solution when police caused this crisis. Well, we should stick to facts that this was one officer and several sitting there doing nothing, which is pathetic. And the officer is disgusting and pathetic. But 99% of the cops are awesome people. And if they know that there's bad cops and they do nothing, then they're just as bad as the bad cops. But we're not going to abolish the police and all this crap that everybody talks. Believe me, if you were in trouble, they'd be the first person you call, so stop with that. And I believe in protecting businesses because it's not just material things. These are people's lives. When you burn down somebody's business, especially in your own neighborhood, now they can't feed their kids. Now they don't have jobs. They just went through the pandemic. So, you know, you got to think before you speak sometimes. But racism is disgusting. Racism is absolutely disgusting in all colors, in all forms. Police are trained killers now. I don't agree with that. You have your right. You know, you have an opinion here, and you have every right. Just don't threaten anybody. And you pretty much could, you know, say what you want. I'll block any racists, and I'll block any threats. Other than that, I appreciate you joining. And you have your opinion, and I have mine, and that's the way it is.
Possibility, and now we've seen the result of that not happening hours and hours and hours ago. So there's no telling where the National Guard troops will be sent in the coming days. But again, at first, it sounds like it's going to be a supportive role, traffic control, crowd control, that sort of thing.
What we're seeing tonight is that the LAPD and the Sheriff's Department are really having to split resources here. What can you tell us about what's going on downtown?
Yeah, it's another complicating factor, as if the issues in the Fairfax district weren't taxing enough to both departments. Because remember, the LA County Sheriff's Department is responsible for the West Hollywood area, which is directly north, just across the street in some cases, from where the issues have been going on in the city of LA's district. That's drawn quite a bit of attention. Downtown LA, the LAPD was for a time earlier this evening really relying on a lot of help from the California Highway Patrol, particularly when some demonstrators began to walk into freeway lanes. They were determined to not let that happen because people wandering around on the freeways creates a safety issue that is magnitudes more difficult than walking in surface streets. So the LAPD, again, relied on outside help to assist them, to take care of that. Downtown LA sounds like it's experiencing its pockets of unrest as well. It sounds like with hours into this, as needs have become clearer in specific places, the department is much better able now to manage where they're sending people than they were 3 or 4 hours ago. But again, it sounds like the department is relying on outside help as well to deal with whatever comes up.
You know, we've been talking about the protesters and the looters, two separate groups here. Does it appear to officers you've spoken with that these looters are really an organized group targeting certain areas? I mean, they've hit a couple of high-end shoe stores. They've hit a watch store. We saw some of them being arrested outside a Target. Is it a what's the word I'm looking for? An organized effort here.
I can tell you that prior to tonight's events, the officials that we're in contact with did not have indications that there was a plan or discussions amongst people who were on their way out deliberately to do harm to the community tonight to begin looting. It appears on the surface that much of this are opportunities that have come up. Empty blocks, businesses with windows smashed out already, and crowds that are being pushed in one particular direction or another by the lines of police officers that are trying to send the protesters on their way, send them home. The last thing they want to do, by the way, is arrest anybody. That creates a huge bureaucratic backlog, and it takes more and more time away from patrolling the streets and preventing things from happening in the first place. So the more protesters that can be encouraged just to leave on their own and go home, the better. One consequence of that is when they're all pushed in one particular direction, as we've seen tonight, some of the businesses that are on that route of exit seem to have become targets of opportunity. No indication from anyone monitoring particular social media or even some undercover officers that have been wandering through the crowds tonight that there was any sort of planned effort, much more so that an opportunity was seen. And with the advent of cell phones, it's very easy to coordinate efforts among.
Okay, if you're just joining, my name is Jake. Welcome to Vantage Point USA. We are live on YouTube and Periscope. Please follow and share. Also, sometimes my software turns red, which means my signal ain't very strong because I'm running this thing on a hotspot, believe it or not, off of a phone. So if you don't have any volume, back out and come back in, and you should be good. I'll be right back. Everybody play nice. Everybody play nice.
This is too long for the hour we're on the air here, but let me just say welcome. He's also a terrorism expert. You look at what's going down here now. What's your reaction?
Well, my first reaction here, first, again, thank you for having me on, and obviously my condolences to Mr. Floyd, who I'm certain his family would not be happy with what's happening here right now. My first reaction is one of, obviously, public safety. And as LAPD
what's going on?
Went on attack alert.
What's going on, everybody?
Ago, and they're now on 12-hour shifts.
Rachel Maga,
their first concern is public safety to the people who were peacefully protesting,
and everybody
as
here,
well
Rocky.
as to the officers who have to go out there and secure those areas.
I'll be right back.
What we're seeing now is, and unfortunately the mayor, of course, invoked a curfew. And as your previous guest mentioned, I think what we're looking at with the looting and the fires are pure opportunists created by the exit route that's set up for people to leave. And as the police cover and protect territory, the saying goes, he who protects everything protects nothing. And people are asking me, why aren't they there where they're looting? Well, they can't be everywhere. So they're going to be going block by block to move people who are out past curfew. And as they're doing that, these opportunists, if you will, are hitting stores along the exit route. So I don't think that this is a plan to loot. I don't think this is some kind of some crew that's out working. I think these are pure opportunists taking advantage of unprotected stores that unfortunately are owned by local people who've been closed for the better part of 2 months because of COVID and now are victimized by theft and flame.
You know, Errol, at one point, we all know you were with the FBI, the SWAT. Do you ever envision, like, the feds being called in here? I mean, we do know they've asked for help from the National Guard, but there's a large contingency of federal agents in Westwood. Could you envision that happening?
I don't envision that happening, particularly since the governor has already requested the National Guard. As you mentioned, 1,000 of them will be here this evening. I think what you'll see in the way of federal resources, to be honest with you, will be the aftermath of investigations that will take place with regards to some of the assaults and the looting that's happening. But I do think with LAPD, the Sheriff's Department, the support of the National Guard, who will be in a purely supportive role until notified to do otherwise, I think that the manpower will be sufficient. And we've seen other cities around the country change their deployment. Minnesota today deployed about 3 to 4 times as many people as they had 2 nights ago, and the climate and the result was very, very different with regard to how much control they had. So there's nothing like overwhelming force when it comes to personnel, and I think that's going to make a huge difference when we got more people out there.
So tell me what goes into the planning as we move forward, Errol. We're looking tonight at what's happening. There have been some arrests, we understand. What happens now?
Well, the challenge now is how and do we go forward with peaceful protests? I mean, there are people who are peacefully protesting, and obviously we don't want to take that right away. But at this point, this is a public safety issue. So if there are going to be public protests, those areas are going to have to be established. They're going to have to be clearly defined, and they're not going to have to be able to let people to exit those areas if they do that. That's the one thing going forward, and the question is going to remain tomorrow is, are we going to let people peacefully protest? Beyond that, again, it's saving life, it's saving property, it's protecting property. And, you know, I remember the 92 riots, and I remember the National Guard being here, and it was not pretty. So going forward, again, it's just whether or not the protests get to continue. And I think that's probably the big question for people who really were doing this the right way, in a way that the Floyd family would probably be proud of. And they have every right to do that. But at the risk of public safety right now, that may have to be at least temporarily halted in some respect.
Suspended in a way.
Make sure so we get everything under control.
You know, Errol, you and I have done a number of terrorism panels together. Your expertise for most of our viewers is terrorism. Typically, we're talking about Al-Qaeda and ISIS, but also domestic terrorism. Is this really kind of a form of that?
Well, it's not. This is not a form of that, and I want to be clear. These are people who are committing crimes, burglaries, at the least, and vandalism. There are reports around the country of people who belong to extremist organizations on the left and the right that might be part of these crowds. That is entirely possible. We have been tracking since COVID started a number of organizations that have been leveraging COVID for recruiting efforts, particularly those who are anti-government. So I think what's going to happen here is, you asked me about federal resources earlier, as we identify people who are out there, particularly those who may be, in some instances, breaking store windows and not entering, setting fires as arsonists. Those are the people that we're going to be looking at very closely to see who they are, what their connections are, and if they do have connections to those extremist organizations that you and I have talked about many times, that will take on a whole other investigation.
And do they use a situation like this as an opportunity, so then you have to put more people on that and worry about something else happening in the middle of all this?
Well, the one thing that I've mentioned since the beginning of COVID is, with all due respect to how challenging the global pandemic is let's not get laser focused and lose sight of the big picture. We still have homeland and national security to take advantage, or I should say take care of. And so as we are laser focused on a pandemic, these other organizations are taking advantage of the fact that we can't walk and chew gum at the same time. So we have, since day one, been paying close attention to extremist organizations that are growing, that are recruiting, that are hoping to get more people in their ranks while we're all focused on the pandemic. So yes, we do have to devote more resources to this, and we will be devoting more resources to this particular incident due to the reports around the country of extremists having infiltrated these peaceful protesters to make matters even worse.
This is the sort of thing you track on a regular basis. How do you stop it? I mean, we saw this start out peacefully at noon today at the Pan Pacific Park. There were a lot of people out there. There were teenagers, young people, older people, people of all ethnicities, and then it grew into this early on.
Well, a couple things happened. First of all, people are out there a long time. It gets frustrating standing there for a long time. At some point, they get moved by the police or they don't get moved. You can't make everybody happy. And it only takes one person to do one thing for there to be sort of a mob mentality, and it just escalates and cascades from there. And so I think that's part of it. I'm always concerned when I see the level of violence I saw today during daylight hours. And we saw that in 1992. When we saw the violence in the daytime, I said, we're going to be in trouble when nightfall comes. And I'm so glad the mayor introduced a curfew, because that at least stems some of it. But I think it's just from standing around idly, peacefully protesting. After a while, there's got to be some excitement, and it starts with breaking some windows, pushing some police officers, torching some cars, not obeying commands, and then it escalates, and that's what happened today.
Yeah, we really did see that. That describes it perfectly. Thank you so much. We want to keep you on the line. We'd like to talk to you some more. You have such great insight for us, but we want to bring in Earl Hutchinson, who has the most wonderful voice. We hear he's a TV critic and author, and you're always a voice of reason. I know I've interviewed you before, especially on racism issues. We heard from you earlier today, and you were hoping for calm, but this did escalate tonight. What are you thinking now?
Well, I was thinking, like many other people, how did it happen so fast? We did have peaceful protests. I mean, we all support that. Even very, very activist, very aggressive, and very focused protests. I don't think anybody's against that. I mean, any reasonable person, let's face it, I mean, that is the American way. When you have a grievance, to protest. And we saw that tonight, or earlier today, people do step over the line. I heard the interview before about extremists that have infiltrated or may have infiltrated some of the organizations that do stand for peaceful protest and social justice issues. That's always been a concern, that you have people that take advantage of a situation, a very tragic situation. We're talking about, obviously, what happened in Minneapolis with George Floyd, and the issue of police abuse, misconduct, and violence that has to be addressed, but take advantage of that issue for their own purposes. The great problem is this: when that happens, it detracts from the issue. It diverts from the issue. It takes attention from the issue. And the issue in this case is, I think reasonable people want to see justice done in Minneapolis, and also reasonable people also want to get a handle on police violence, police misconduct, and put things constructively in place to end that. But as we know, when people take advantage of a situation with burning, with looting, with attacks on police officers, it takes focus on the issue, and that's a danger.
Earl, how do you keep people on message, and the message, of course, being George Floyd?
Well, I think there's two things that have to happen. First of all, and actually a good tip came from the Floyd family. They made it very clear, and other families too, that have been victims of police violence. And when violence happens, a riot situation, the families speak out and they say, look, this is not what is going to solve the problem. This is not going to bring justice or any kind of consolation to this family. The victim would not want that, and we speak on behalf of that. So when you have family members that are speaking out, I think that's important. And by the way, we did see that with the Floyd family and other civil rights leaders. And I think the second thing is, people like myself that do have a civil rights organization that have been involved with this issue for a long time. I'm talking about the battle against and for social justice and against racism, and also police misconduct. We also have a role to play, and that role is we have to speak out loud and long, saying, look, we're frontline fighters for justice too, but we do it the right way. And we encourage others that, in fact, believe in justice, do it the right way, too, because at the end of the day, that's the most effective way. Not looting a store, but actually the kind of protest, the kind of demonstration, the kind of programs that are being advocated for justice.
All right.
Those are the kinds of things that...
All right, welcome. My name is Jake. This is Vantage Point USA. I am Jake from Total News Network. I appreciate you guys joining in. I will keep trying to find coverage. Now, let me know in chat if you want me to put on the audio from Unicorn Riot or leave it on this other lady and guy? Let me know.
And see, that's a danger. That's another thing. It's not just diverting the attention from the issue of social justice, the issue of police misconduct and how to deal with that. The other thing now, we're talking about even more curtailing our civil right, the civil right to peacefully protest. So once again, we're getting into a dangerous situation where you have some that use a situation, that twist it, turn it for their own selfish ends, and now we all pay a price. We're all jeopardized. Now we're talking about the right to, I mean, that's a sacred right to peacefully protest in the American system. You're talking about taking that away. I have to tell you, when that happens, we all lose.
Earl, I'm going to ask you to bear with us for just a moment. Megan Reyes, News Chopper 4 Alpha, if you could swing back around to that police line that we saw just a moment ago, give us a location on that. You mentioned there were only a handful, maybe a couple of dozen, to the best of your knowledge, protesters in this area right now. We just saw the LAPD move forward very quickly. And
guys, we have
where's
to get
that
set
street?
up here. Yeah, we're getting set up right now. Near on Hayworth Avenue, which is just a little west of Fairfax here. We were hearing about some activity. They were talking about some looting that was going on Fairfax Avenue. LAPD, you can see the amount of officers responding to this particular area. You saw that line of officers here on this street right over here. I'll get to the name of the street here in a second, but essentially officers are pushing, there's that line of officers right there. They were pushing some looters, as they were calling them, in a westerly direction, and there were a lot of individuals running in the street here in this neighborhood here. They definitely wanted to make sure they could protect some of these buildings here. Again, this is on Fairfax, and we saw a lot of activity here earlier near Park La Brea along Fairfax. So this is Fairfax and Clinton Street. So that's where the line of officers were chasing some of those individuals. They did disperse. That's why they came here. They dispersed that crowd, and they're just pretty much setting up that line, making sure these individuals don't come back to this particular spot.
Oh, so they may have stopped activity in this area. There we see right now, we are looking at our screens and we're seeing them moving in. And you said it looked like the people who were there moved out when they saw this police presence.
Yeah, that's the thing. They move out, they move away, but then they set up another location. And we were listening about some activity on Melrose Avenue as well, just east where the fire was burning. So these...
Yeah, I'll put on the audio on Unicorn Riot in 1 second. So we got to give everybody a fair opportunity.
Dispatched to another location where they deem it necessary. They have multiple police helicopters flying above looking for any activity, and they are directing these law enforcement officials down to the area where they need them. Again, this is right off of Clinton and Fairfax. You can let me pull up this map overlay here so you can see Fairfax Avenue and Clinton Street. That's where we have all the activity, and Melrose is just to the north of here, and just literally from about a quarter of a mile in this area, that's where we have that fire that's burning on the 7500 block of Melrose Avenue.
And I believe we still have Errol Southers on the phone with us. Errol, I know you spent time local law enforcement and federal law enforcement before your time as a professor at at USC, University of Southern.
There's like one person off in the cut on the right side. It's just like chilling out against one of the concrete boulders. This is underneath I-35, brand new built I-30 block. Yeah, I think this part is brand newly built. I wonder if that'll affect the construction. The black smoke billowing is amazingly thick. You can sort of get a glimpse of how much smoke is coming up based on these street lights. But it's just so black up top that you won't be able to see anything. So, again, thank you all for joining. Sneaker for Unicorn Riot. We've been around for 5 years. Our mission is to bring context around social and environmental struggles. If you like our coverage, if you appreciate our work, You go to unicornride.ninja, click on the 5U.
Having been there and done that, and I thank these men and women for their service. They're extremely fit. They know what the job entails. They're working 12-hour shifts. They're going to be really, really safe about doing this. They're going to be secure, and they're going to be patient. And if they do all of those things, no one will get injured on their side. Nobody needs to be injured on the civilian side, and everybody will be fine and go home at night.
As someone who teaches, who is a professor now and is very active in the community as well, how do you make sure when you talk to your students that we don't lose the message, the original message of what happened in Minneapolis?
Well, this again it's really one of.
Okay, I'm going to try to find some more footage here. I appreciate you joining. My name is Jake. Welcome.
Is a basic humanity here that I always remind my students, and as you know, I teach counterterrorism classes. I teach classes on violent extremism, but there's a humanity component here, and there's a humility component here. So that's what's really important. You know, I have to at least say that LAPD changed when the department started to reflect some of those communities that they serve. And so the message won't be lost when we understand that people need a voice. They need a voice in the community. They need a voice in the department. And I do want to say this, you know, what happened to Mr. Floyd is unacceptable. But I do want to say that the large majority of law enforcement in America are law-abiding, ethical, and really good human beings that do a great job every day. And this is a small minority of officers that should not be officers and should have never gotten past the screening process. So the thing I emphasize, so this won't be lost, is never forget where you came from, never forget who you serve, and never forget who you are. And I think that's going to be really important going forward. We can honor the Floyd family and many other men that died, unfortunately, in situations like this if we do that, if we, at the end of the day, we try to be good human beings.
Well, we kept hearing that call for justice, and a lot of people who came out today, that is what they wanted. They wanted to put that message out there, but they had a peaceful message. And then, you know, we saw it ruined by a few.
Come right back. That's all you got, because he's a bitch. You got a weapon.
As we look at yet another fire.
Look, you might even think it's funny. Because he know you a bitch too. He know he's with the conversation because these things happen.
Hey, Mr. Potts, I hope I see you tomorrow.
Hey, I'm live with a few hundred viewers. Anything you want to say to people?
We don't try to get through these problems together. This is a problem that is.
Gotta collect your thoughts. Hey, that's smart. I've said something to cameras I don't like after I said it a few times.
I'm just trying to figure out what we're going to do as a police department. If we always going to say it's somebody else and not take responsibility for people who are wearing your badge.
That area, this is the shoe store, and then Megan was just on a fire down the street, looked to be maybe 1 or 2 blocks away. Errol, if you were advising the mayor tonight about how to approach tomorrow morning, what would you say to him?
Well, the first thing I would say is I thank him for putting the curfew in place. I think that was absolutely critical. The second thing I would say is I go back to the playbook of 1992.
So
we sat down, meaning the community sat down, leaders from the faith-based community, law enforcement, athletes and celebrities in LA, activists.
Like you said, people have been shot for screaming in their car.
You know her name?
Yeah. A little boy got shot for holding a toy gun. So like I said, the state is too fucking. Like I said, y'all don't need to go to training. Because if a fucking 8-year-old scares y'all that bad, then you don't need to be out here. The black people scare y'all that bad, then y'all don't need to be out here. What do y'all fear about it? What is it? What is there to fear?
I would convene.
Y'all don't have no
Look, we're all at home. It's not hard to find people. So I think we could have these conversations starting tomorrow.
Were you surprised when you saw all the police chiefs gather together this week and condemn what happened in Minneapolis?
For everyone wondering why people are so close to the cops pushed everyone back.
Bad cops.
To hear what you had to say. We're going to switch right now to Robert Kovacic. He has secured an interview right now with the fire chief Terrazas.
Like a block and a half.
He's going to join us as we watch these fires.
So as far as being in the cop space, I mean, the cops pushed everyone to where they are. People back up more, they'll advance more.
Like I said, there's nothing that amounts to a rock line.
Courtroom is my fucking another neighborhood there was
Did anyone even tell y'all to advance?
What is the objective? Oh, hey, let's push a fucking dirty wall. That'll show him. Right? Is that what you violate the law to exert fucking unlawful power? Fuck no! I dare one of you. Motherfucking dare you. Courtroom's my house, boys. If this shit don't get better, I'm always underfunded. The goddamn Constitution of the United States. I fucking dare you.
So this guy over here sounds like he might have made a couple Section 1983 claims in the past. I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm gonna be out here all night. You can't even say it straight. All night. You was messing with Pops all night. Even more. You might all keep that kid in the light. Even though y'all respect y'all all city lines over the town complex. I need to start putting heavy pressure on and making arrests in the northwest section. Over here.
Oh, they need to start making arrests. They just proactively decide. Nobody needs to do anything wrong. It just comes over the radio. We need to start making arrests. So they do it. For the commenter who said people were protesting peacefully in a public park, no, they were actually protesting peacefully on the sidewalks. They got pushed through the park, over benches, over trash cans. They were shoved into things. The police came out of their line to start hitting people randomly, just at random, people who were trying to back up.
Fake news.
Yeah, for those wondering, this is fair, get square.
Let me step back so you know. It's like an orange gun. It looks like a gun, but it's not a gun. It's an orange. That's rubber bullets or something.
Y'all hear from me, right? You need a bed?
This little bitch ass nigga, I hate you. Talking about no, they don't. I hope your kids don't see the video of yourself.
So I don't know what's happening at other intersections back closer to the park in the White House. I got back from charging up my stuff, and this is the first place I came, and police were just pushing people, shoving people. So I stayed here. Yeah, I'm not sure where the National Guard is. They were at the White House earlier, in the park, and now it's all MPD. I think the National Guard was there specifically to back up park police and Secret Service. Don't litter, dude. Fucking. See if I can find a trash can for this mask that this cop just littered.
Welcome, everybody. If you're just joining, my name is Jake.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys watching what's happening here in D.C.
Let me mute him real quick. I'll keep searching for all different footage throughout the night. Please follow and share. Appreciate you guys tuning in.
You saw like everything that officer did.
Not even sure why they all over here so close. No one's down here.
I'll be right back.
Sorry to bug you guys. Josh. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So the sergeant was like, reinforce this line. Mitchell says, ask their opinions on the matter. I don't think many of them are feeling real talkative right now. We can try. Hey, got any opinions on the matter about what's all happening right now in George Floyd? Nothing? Yeah. As I said, I don't think they're feeling very talkative right now. Couple fire trucks over here, 2 fire trucks over here, fire and the EMS supervisor over here, and it's all blocked off. Not completely sure what they were doing here. Excuse me, y'all know what's up with the fire engines?
No.
Nothing? I mean, I saw the trash cans burning, but that can't be all these for that, right? One of you said, go talk to the cop that waved. I didn't see that.
Wait. If they get a white girl shield, where your shield at? All the colored folks do not have shields. You know that, right? Majority. Yo, the colored women. And a lot of the women. The colored women don't got shit. Ain't shit to protect us. We'll be here though. We'll be the community that you fall back on and from the page.
We need violence, you guys. Let's get violent. That's what they want, right?
You know that. You don't want to
Southside 801 K Street.
You know this is failing us. You know you live paycheck to paycheck. You know it's all of y'all. And with me, not now. Because she got some generational stuff. And maybe her too. But you don't. And you're not going to build it off this shit. You're not going to make it out the water.
Even if you do have generational money, are you doing something different?
Are you opening your purse and helping the Freedom Fund and bailing people out that are fighting for your rights? Who fought for you to be a police officer? Who fought for you to be a slave catcher? You know that's what the police are. They don't teach you that history in police academy? Don't give a fuck about Take some mental health break. Motherfucking style. Save your weed. How about that? Please, buy some weed. Buy some weed off the person you arrested the other day. Please, and relax. Regroup and realize you're not fighting for the right side. I know you that because they pay you.
Don't try to frame us. Pull down, buddy. Pull down. Pull down.
Get this stick out your ass.
Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome. Hope you guys are doing good. My name is Jake. This is Vantage Point USA. Please follow and share. Another crazy night of protests. Appreciate you tuning in.
I guess we're allowed past now? Or like...
Hey, cover down, right here.
I'm gonna try some other footage on this screen on the left. Looks like that one's frozen. trying to find some other footage. I know there's protests in Portland, Austin, pretty much a lot of cities. My name is Jake. Thanks for tuning in.
Where are you trying to go? Sorry. Left circle? I think it's on that one.
Is this sidewalk open now?
You just can't come this way right now. But if you go up and make a right, you should be able to direct it.
Thank you.
So, seeing people come behind us, so I think if you go up there, yeah, you should be able to come.
All right, so that sidewalk was still closed. Oh, Chase Bank got smashed. But that sidewalk was closed. I'm trying to go up to the next intersection. There were a couple of squads of cops moving up there, and a few fire and EMS vehicles. So I'm gonna take y'all up there. If nothing's happening, we'll come back here, but it's pretty quiet. You know, they have backup on backup on backup there. For the person who said don't talk to them, I wish, but I was trying to get through that sidewalk and I didn't want to get arrested, so it's kind of necessary to check.
I encourage you to share all those statistics with each other, you know, because I just feel like there's no question here. When we look at the numbers, it's not a matter of how we feel. You know, what we feel is a result of what we experience. These people are mad because they're criminals. These people are painted as criminals, and so they're angry.
Sorry, my mic was off. I got to be careful if somebody's playing music because I'll get a copyright strike. So hopefully he can get away from the music. I heard Austin got pretty bad tonight. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully he can get away from the music and I can play the audio. My name is Jake if you're just joining. This is Vantage Point USA. We're live on YouTube and Periscope. Please follow and share. Yeah, I'm going to have to turn off the Austin audio. He keeps playing music, so just bear with me. Okay. Okay, we should be good now. If Austin stops playing music, I can play their audio. Right now, we'll have to listen to this guy, TJ, live.
He's perched up on the roof like Batman. Joke. Dude. You joke, but you also look up. Yeah. Definitely look over your shoulder walking around that. See this?
very short man coming running at you.
There's a lot of police cars parked over here, and one of them has been, well, let's put it as artistically modified. So apparently people are allowed to go down this sidewalk this way. I just couldn't come this way from the other way.
Okay, I'm going to stop my broadcast service software and going to restart it. So you may have to make sure you're following. You may have to come back in. On YouTube, you should be fine. But my software went red a couple of times, so I need to stop it and restart it. Be sure to follow it.
I'm coming up on a police car and some EMS vehicles up this way. So we're going to see what that's about. And if there's nothing happening, I'll go up another street.
For those of you just joining, because I had to restart my software, I'll be bringing some footage throughout the night. And we'll see how this goes. Be safe out there. My name is Jake from Vantage Point, USA.
Might be something happening up a block over there. But in the meantime, I'm going to check out what these fire and EMS vehicles up to. Because there's a whole lot of police over there. Oh, they're putting away fire hoses? Oh, the Ronald Reagan building was smashed up a little bit, one lobby of it. Looks like they're putting away fire hoses, so someone might have tried to set it on fire. All right, a whole lot of police over here. Oh, I guess before I cross this line, I think I'm only allowed to come this way. So before I cross their line, I better stay over here. So they've got everyone stopped up here. That's where all the squads of police were going, and this is where the fire trucks were going. The police were all coming to stop people there. Since I came this way, only a few people who came from this direction are in here. I'm one of them. So I'm gonna show y'all what's happening here, because there are probably other people to show you what's happening over there. Is this an exercise machine out here? I have no clue why there's an exercise machine in the middle of the sidewalk here. If that's what it is. Or it might be just a winch. Oh, it might be just a winch for the firefighters. It says Connecticut. So it says kinetic, excuse me, not Connecticut, not the state, kinetic like energy.
1000 block of Melrose, you can see those emergency services lights, police department lights in the area. You can see that contingency of police right there in the bottom of the shot. They just arrived, and those looters scurried away. So they are no longer into that store, but they've been in that store for probably an hour or more. You can see all that trash and debris on the
oh, I see the flickering. It looks like it's up on the 4th floor near the construction, the scaffolding there. You could see flickering. Let me try and show y'all a little better.
Is not their property.
I'm just gonna pan around real quick for y'all. There's not much to see yet.
Welcome everybody. I'm trying to find footage from all over America. I appreciate your patience. My name is Jake. Thanks for tuning in.
Here comes another fire truck. It's probably going to the other side of the building, because that's closer to where the fire is. This is the Hay Adams, and it got a little vandalized as well. Window smashed. For the person who said that's a street lamp, not a fire. Yes, I understand there was a street lamp nearby. That's not what I was referring to. And it's certainly not what set off those alarms and brought all these fire trucks over here. For those people saying show my face isn't really showing right now. I have a mask on, but hey everyone. Yeah, it is not this street lamp that I was referring to. And that's certainly not what's sending these firefighters into the building. Ooh, we might finally find out what that SUV is. The red and white. I assumed it was a fire and EMS SUV. Someone says walk towards 15th and L. Do you know something's going on there? Yeah, as you can see, fire alarms going off.
I don't know, Rachel. I'll have to check it out. I didn't know what happened in Seattle.
Yeah, I think it's a fire and EMS supervisor.
I don't know why this guy keeps buffering. He's probably in a bad spot.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. This is not the Reagan building. For those of you commenting, I said that wrong. This is the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute, which must be a tenant of this building. This is 888. This is 888. It must be... It's sometimes hard to tell in DC because one building will take off a few blocks. Right now...
They would just pack up everything they can because they didn't want their family to be in the area and be a part of this. So I know that there are people down here on the ground here in the Park La Brea area and elsewhere here in the Fairfax district that have had the same feelings tonight, but they should be somewhat reassured that there is such a large police and fire presence down here trying to protect them. Okay.
We'll go with the chopper audio for right now.
Sweet. I will find that. Thank you. We're going to go down the street a little bit to the west, if possible. A little bit more towards... Okay. Are there? Down that way? Why am I missing it? Are you talking about this one? Oh, we're gonna go look at these police officers down here. Yes. Yeah, we were just talking about that one. So we're gonna go a little bit to the west and take a look at that intersection. There's a police line of like 6 or 8 units blocking Melrose right off the nose. It might be below your... Okay.
Fix his name. Oh, all right, I'll fix that. I'm not sure what's spelt wrong, but I'll find out right now. Thank you for pointing that out, TC. Let's see.
Okay, great.
Let's see. TJ Live. TJ Live News and Media. I don't see where it's spelled wrong. It's in the description.
Roger.
I'm clicking over the thing here.
Rick, that's right. You're looking at LAPD both on the ground and in those vehicles using a different strategy that we haven't seen tonight yet. They're working down Melrose west here at Sweetser now, and what they're doing is just going block by block, business by business, and checking for those looters and others that might be in the area, and essentially just scooting them out, scaring them off, possibly even arresting some if that is available, but they're essentially just sweeping the street and trying to clear out as many people as possible as they work their way westbound. You can see some other units and fire trucks ahead, so we'll have to see what they're working on, but it does look like LAPD is addressing some of that looting and other crime in the area in force right now here at Melrose and Sweetser as they continue to work down the street here.
All right, let me see what you're talking about, TC. I'll try to get that right for you. Let me just take that off right now. And let me do this. Alright, let me find out what you're talking about. I'm not seeing what you're talking about. Unless this TJ Live is using this guy's feed. That's a possibility. Because there's two videos on this guy's page happening now live. So he might be using whoever this person's feed is. If you know the name of the guy's feed, if you can type it, then I'll put it up there. I think this TJ Live is using this guy's feed. If you can help me out with that.
$11:30.
False alarm here. Everyone's kind of. Oh no, it's not a false alarm. They're just pulling back to get ready to go up the stairs. You can smell the burning now.
I don't see any of your chat anymore. So I don't know if you wrote anything after day 5's protest line, but I'm not seeing it. Let me refresh this.
Yeah, they're pulling more hoses out here.
If anybody knows the name of the guy on the top right, and it's not TJ Live, then let me know. seeing a lot of chat either. I think this TJ Live is using this guy's feed. Not credit, not doing the right credit.
Hey, we're about 10 away from 11. Still plan for us to clear out at 11.
Hold up, Quasi. Quasi. Tell Quasi now.
We're about 10 away from 11, and is the plan for us to still clear out at 11?
Not seeing chat either. I don't know if you're typing anything, but I'm not seeing what you're typing.
Okay, anything after that, you're going to have to call in another crew.
Like I said, if anybody knows this top right name and it's not TJ Live, let me know. I want to definitely give the right credit.
Correct. We're here till midnight, I guess. Go more west and more north.
You can see the firefighter at the end here feeding a hose into the building.
There's like a bend up here in Melrose. I want to do something in that corner. Okay, sounds good. Okay, we can sit over here.
Did you happen to see anything over there?
Oh, yeah. Trying to find this guy's name on the top right feed.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think they'll need more resources than that.
I'm not seeing any chat anymore either.
Alright, so there was a fire, it's being put out now. I'm gonna move on.
mind turning on the fan?
Yeah, I don't see it.
Thank you.
Couple more MPD cars rolling in.
I'm going to put up TJ Live because that's the feed I'm getting this from. If he's using somebody else's feed, let me know. But right now, I'm getting the feed from TJ Live. So I'm putting that back up until somebody chats to me something different. No, insurance fraud is never a good time. John, I'm sure you're just being funny.
Alright, it doesn't look like much is going on up that way.
Okay, I'm going to end this for right now. I gotta take a break. My name is Jake. This is Vantage Point USA. Please follow and share. I'll be back if anything gets crazy. Go back and see how many hours I've put in. So please follow and share. I've been covering this for 5 days now. 5 days. Yeah, pretty boring. Which is good. It's good that it's boring. So, you guys have a blessed night. I'm also on my original, let me say my main page is Total News Network. This is a page I do a show with my friend Rich, Vantage Point USA. So, appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll check you out.